And now the video has started. So you guys on the video, you just missed out. We accidentally showed Dr. Boogie's secret identity there.
I have to say, I saw a thing on the news once where a guy was coming out of court going to prison for a really bad crime, and you know why they sometimes put their hoodie over their head when the media's on them? There was this one time where your man just looked at the camera and you could see his face, and before he put his hoodie over, he was kind of like, and then put his hoodie over, and then you couldn't see him. It was like, well, you're too late now, we all saw you.
Yeah, I know. It's a shite crack. So we've got to read out some legal shit, and then we're going to start a lesson on the law of large numbers. So here we go.
Okay, yeah.
Vegan Stephen podcast. This is the party of a podcast. Vegan Stephen is a fictional character. All guests are allegedly fictional characters. All characters and events in this show, even those based on real people, are entirely fictional. Celebrity voices are impersonated poorly. The following program contains coarse language. You do it. Viewed by anyone. This is the Vegan Stephen podcast promoting positive mental health. It's not just for vegans, it's for everyone. You are currently listening live. This is everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, all the places. This is the class A drugs of podcasts. Okay, you need to be strictly over 50 years old to listen to this. I'm going to give a quick introduction to the law of large numbers. This is the Vegan Stephen business course showing you guys how to get more pocket money. You guys don't need to, well, you should be washing cars if you want to make money, like, but if you want to learn how to make even more money in the long term as opposed to short term, this is the second fastest track there is. Now it's going to take at least 100 hours, but it's still more reliable than any other business course I can personally recommend. I'm sure there's better, but I just haven't personally found them yet. If you have, state them below. Anyway, listen, I'm going to say the definition of law of large numbers, and then Dr. Boogie is going to lay down the law. So here we go. In probability theory, the law of large numbers, and then it has in brackets LLN, is a theorem that describes the result of performing the same experiment a large number of times. ... The LLN is important because it guarantees stable long-term results for the averages of the same random events. Okay, I may have read that incomplete or whatever. Dr. Boogie may have his own definition, but that is what Wikipedia has to say on the subject. Do your own research. I will give your babies cancer and so on, so listen, you cannot trust me or any other news source. Just use multiple sources. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. This is just two lads talking. We're trying to give you confidence and so on in the form of money or whatever you're into. Let's see what we have to say here, Dr. Boogie.
Alright, here we go. Okay, I got something in my back pocket to get
What's going on here?
Right, I need this. See this? Law of large numbers. Say, what is law of large numbers? Well, this is the law of large numbers. See this coin? Now, heads, tails. Now, right. Heads or tails? You pick. Heads or tails. Okay, this is tails, this is heads. Okay, we're going to flip this and I'm going to try and catch it. Because I don't know how to fucking do this. Alright. And then I'm going to go.
Showing up that big camera there, the main camera. Okay. It's going to be blurry, but some of you guys are listening on the audio version. Fair play to you, but what number do we have there?
We have heads.
We have heads. Okay.
Okay, so that's number one.
Okay.
We did one experiment.
Alright.
Back to this description. The experiment repeated a certain amount of times. Well,
lovely.
Let's try it again. That was only one, so that's not going to really show anything. Let's just try a couple more.
Alright, what have we got here, Dr. Boogie?
What do you think it's going to be?
I think it has to be tails this time, because it wasn't tails last time.
Ah, now that's where gambler's fallacy comes into it.
What's gambler's fallacy?
Gambler's fallacy is the law of averages. Is when you think when so many things happen, another event is due. But that's only for short term. It's heads again. So that's only short term. The law of averages is a very minuscule version of the law of large numbers.
Okay.
It's like saying that on average, after every 3 spins, every 3 tails, it will land on heads. That's a law of averages. But the law of large numbers says that within 500 tosses, you're going to have at least one of the other because of the theorem. It balances itself out. That's the difference. There's a very, very big grey area between that. So within 10 spins, I could have 8 heads and 2 tails. But within 500 spins, more realistically, the worst case scenario is I'll have 470. I'll have 230 heads and 270 tails.
Nice.
That's the worst case scenario. It's the general Einstein's theory of general relativity, which means everything will balance out somewhat equal. It doesn't have to be absolute because perfection does not exist. But it's relative. If you understand what's going on, you're getting closer to that thing. Which brings me to the chart there, as you can see on the screen. Do you see the way it's gone absolutely erratic at the start? Do you see that?
Your chart is on your screen there. For you at home who may be listening to the audio version, just Google law of large numbers and
graph.
All right.
That, yeah.
There it is.
And you'll all get the same results. But if you could, so anyone who can see this, anyone who's looking at it, and I'll have to come back and re-watch this. As you can see at the beginning, the results are absolutely erratic and uneven, because we haven't got enough trials to basically define the even. Everything evens out ultimately, whether you like it or not. Everything evens out 50-50. Balance. Everything balances out ultimately. Alright, let's bring it back to something really, really simple. You're on a bike. If you go at 1.5 miles an hour, is the bike going to stay stable, or is it going to probably be very wobbly? But what if you went at 20 miles an hour?
Straight enough, yeah.
There you go. Same thing with the law of large numbers. It's the exact same thing. When you do your experiment, it's going to be very wobbly with uneven, unfair results, very unfair. However, over the course of a duration of period of large numbers, so 500 in some cases, which is considered a large number, depending on the experiment and the variables, it will balance itself out relatively. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but you won't. Here's the situation. The chances of me, I don't know, if I toss this coin 500 times, I know.
Right, let's go. 500. You've only tossed it twice.
Yeah, so 498 to go.
Prove it for the people. I don't believe you.
Okay,
I call it bullshit.
Okay, let's do this.
Will we spin it? How many times can we spin it? And how I switch, ladies and gentlemen, I switch coins. If you had a euro out in a minute, boo! It's got a 5 cent out now. Boo! I don't believe in the law of large numbers. Let's prove right now, man. Well, actually, definitely don't, because we don't have that much time.
Well, you could be here on.
I'm honey messing. You keep going, man. You keep going.
Put the money where the mouth. Right. Anyway. But as you know, if you type in a random number generator, I don't know if that's the best result, but do it with physical things like toss something. If you toss it 20 times, the balance over the long course of thing, just doing it 20 times, the balance is going to be a lot more unfair than if you did it 500 times. So the more you do it, the closer to that mean, the average that it gets.
Right.
So we know within 500, we'll have at least 2 heads. We know for a fact. I guarantee you 100% that will happen. Theoretically, that may not happen. Theoretically, we can get 250 heads, 250 tails, but in the real world, that probably won't happen. It's more along the lines of 230 and 270. Now, you could say theoretically we'll also get 250 heads in a row, 250 tails in a row. What are the chances of that happening?
I don't know.
If it was like that, if it happened like that often, you wouldn't be seeing that graph as it is. See the way it's so erratic, it would just be like a straight slope. One slope at the bottom, one slope at the top like this, and it would go inward like that. That's what it would be like if you had 250 in a row of heads and 250 row of tails coming into it.
Yeah.
But if you...
That coin drop was tails, by the way.
If you dropped a coin, you are mine.
Right.
But if you basically, in real life scenarios, and basically, if you look at my 2 other videos in terms of leveraging, this is where my initial incomes comes from. This is what I base it on. This is exactly what I base it on. This is how I make my money, because I know those statistics, and I know that after going through a lot of rounds with the good money management, I'm going to come out ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Boogie / allegedly Tenny takes this as for granted, as if this means gravity. All right, so you get out of your bed in the morning, you take gravity for granted. He takes, am I right? I don't know.
Yeah.
He takes this for a lot of people don't even know this, but if you understand how gravity works, you won't be afraid to jump up and down because you know you won't float off into space forever.
Exactly.
It keeps you grounded, it keeps you on a solid, continuous track for earning cash money, extra pocket money. Do you want, ladies, do you want your nails done? Do you want do you want to tell all them other girls there fucking, I don't know, I'm just making
I want to tell all of them, fuck that.
I've crossed the line, so back to business.
Which line? Just go back the other way. Keep going back and forth. It all balances out.
Yeah.
So you go down, up, but over the long run, it will balance out. That's how I make my money. I get through the numbers. The idea of my strategies in business to be successful is with the utmost of patience and discipline, is just get through the numbers. I don't care how they get through, it's just to get through them, because this is how it will balance out, and nothing is exempt from this. Whether you like it or not, you will go infinitely. It will balance out infinitely more to its perfection. It will never go to the absolute. It never will, but it will become relative. So it will even out more infinitely as you get closer to it. The singularity of the law of large numbers. Think of it like a funnel. Is it a funnel like a piece of paper I can fold up?
There might be. Do you know what else is another mad thing? Well, Dr. Boogie's looking for some paper. When you go to the casino, what you're dealing with in the first little bit of the graph there is what happens when you enter the casino. Oh, mad shit going up and down and up and down and up and down. But if you're running a business such as we're running or whatever, you're going to be more consistent over a long period of time. You're not going to have that erratic up and down which you have that when you first start off a business, or if you're doing irregular gambling. Like if you're doing irregular gambling, you've no hope of unless it's rigged.
I do not encourage that. The casinos use the law of large numbers to make money in the long run, but they set table limits as well. So they'll tell you that you can only bet a minimum of 5 on a 50-50 chance, €5, dollars, and the maximum is €200 in dollars. You haven't a hope in hell of making money, because they have that dreaded green zero in roulette. This is roulette, dreaded green zero.
Or even sometimes 2 green zeros, I've heard of.
Yeah, in American roulette, that's even worse. So, how said, so the money, they use the numbers. They get through, they don't give a fuck if they lose one night, because they get through the numbers. Ultimately, it will balance out in their favour by 5.2% or whatever is 2.78. But that's their house sedge. That's how casinos are still in business.
It's the law of large numbers, everyone. That's how it works.
Yes. However, with the business model that we're doing, we're not dictated by that, so we can go on further. We have unlimited scope either side.
This is how the fucking world works, like.
So, this is the worst fucking demonstration of a funnel. Do you see that? Do you see
for your audio listeners, this looks like...
I'm a fucking artist.
This looks like a piece of paper an elephant sat on, and then Dr. Boogie tried to, like... I don't know what he's doing, but we're going to find out.
Try to make a fucking cone song.
He's definitely going somewhere. I don't know where he's going, but he's definitely going somewhere.
But see the way this end is bigger and it gets smaller towards there. See how it's coming in?
Yeah.
Now, let me show you. Now,
what?
Do you see the way it's kind of erratic? It's screwed up a little bit.
Right.
But do you see the way kind of the variations up and down, even though it's a bit up and down? Oh, it's smaller there, bigger there. But you see whatever happens, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Reminds me of fucking erosion from the sea on the rocks or something. Do you know about erosion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know, the water, or even the rocks.
It evens out, exactly, it creates that shape. I mean, the countries, look at the shape of countries.
Everything's related, circles.
Einstein's of general relatively.
I don't even know what that is. I'm gonna have to look into that sometime.
I think everything has every action has an equal opposite reaction.
Right.
So that means plus and a minus. Opposites attract.
Opposite attracts. But what about relationships, though? Surely similar attracts to relationships.
They do, but sometimes having that there's being too similar as well.
Yeah.
So you need to have the
balance.
Tips. You need to have the balance. Are we
going to do a dating course, by the way? Are we going to teach a dating course as well?
Yep, absolutely.
We are? We're teaching a dating course?
No, not now, but eventually.
Eventually?
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Near future. What do you think?
I think we might see. We have to enter talks and see how much money is involved. Like, I'd want at least.
I'd be running a dating website.
I'd want at least 500,000 to give all my knowledge about dating away.
Okay, right.
Like,
we could advertise.
I don't know.
Get €5.
I'd want a contract up with Netflix or someone, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we'll go into that anyway. Because we got the experience and all that.
As I said, personally, I believe dating advice is a load of shit. Like, it's just down to self-esteem and self-confidence. But if you guys want to go down that rabbit hole with me, if you feel like paying me a shitload of money, I'll do it. Fuck it.
Well, actually, it's actually a good thing because it kind of works along the same lines, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely, everything is related.
Lines of curvature.
Science of the mind, science of curve. You've said it. It's curvature.
I'm just quoting this lad back to him.
I never said anything lines of curvature.
You did earlier.
Earlier curvature, yeah. But everything is curved. Everything spirals inwards like this. See that? Goes in and in. This is 10 heads, 10 tails, 50 heads, 10 tails, 30 heads.
We're talking about coins, I forgot.
Yeah, coins, yeah. Heads and tails philosophy or red black roulette. Even chances, even the same outcome probability.
And where does the house rules 2 zeros fit into this angle? Is that just like a weird black hole that doesn't exist there? Or?
What it is, well, somewhere along the lines, it's the bit that takes all your money.
But where does that exist in the graph? I know I'm talking.
The green, in terms of this graph alone, it doesn't exist at all. It's just an extra thing to provide an unfair advantage towards the players, so that the casinos will make their money in the long run.
Yeah.
So you have the rules of that game is. You have red, black, and you have 30. You have I'll take a European roulette where you have 1-0, because even 1-0 they'll make money out of it in the long run. So you have numbers 1 to 36, and they're mixed up red, black, even 18 reds and 18 blacks, all even. If it lands on red and you bet on red, you win. If it lands on red, you
keep going, man. I'm just gonna move the mic.
If it lands on black, but you bet on red, you will lose. If it, however, lands on 0, you will lose anyway. So you have 2 possibility of outcomes of losing and only 1 possibility outcome of winning.
Yeah.
So that's how this casino made the money. That's right. My business model that I'm doing, actually, the leveraging bit.
You're getting free gold here, ladies and gentlemen. Fucking
so
gold dust. This lad has spent his whole life, not his whole life, but you know what I mean. We have this lad's an absolute genius at music, and that carries on to his absolute genius in like this isn't someone who once off. This is someone who consistently creates results of measurable results and so on. This lad's laughing because he's fucking a modest fuck. Alright, listen, we're going to put the mic back. I keep interrupting this gentleman. We're back.
Well, yeah, so like I said, it all kind of balances out in the long run. I use a strategy. I won't go into too much details yet, but that's going to be in the near future, where I provide a possibility of 2 out of 3 outcomes. So 2 out of the times I win, 1 out of the times I lose. Now, you might think I might win a bit less and all that, and you're probably absolutely right. But I also throw in a little bit of knowledge into that, and I use the law of large numbers to get the variables to know that I'm going to make the money in the long run. So even if I didn't know what I was fucking doing, I'll make my money anyway. Because I know by 400, I'm going to make that money back. I guarantee you I'm going to make that money with a very, very specific money management strategy that I will use. And the idea is just to get me through the numbers while keeping my money safe, and I'll make that money anyway. So that's what the law of large numbers does to benefit me and what I'm doing. And I would suggest you strongly look into this theory. I mean, yeah, you might think, oh, it's hypothetical, but it's actually real. It's reality. It's what it is. It's just as real as gravity.
Just as real as gravity. You heard it from the horse's mouth here.
And you can't. There's no escaping it. You will ultimately come towards that single. A bit like a black hole. Once you go beyond that event horizon, you can go left, right, up,
this
down.
lad's referencing fucking films left, right, and centre.
Oh, this is real stuff.
Have you heard the Event Horizon? That film.
Which one?
Event Horizon and all that. Yeah. You know that film, yeah?
Event Horizon.
Yeah, Event Horizon.
No. Fuck.
No, it's a good film.
No, you can say it.
Watch. No, it's a good film. Like.
But Anyway, and
Right, I've finished touching the mic, so all the turbulence will stop now. We're letting this lag. Oh, that's good.
So yeah, in terms of if you go beyond the singularity, you can go left, right, up, down, but you will always go towards infinitely. Time curves infinitely, but it will never be. You'll never fully get there. And the law of large numbers is the same. Look at the end of the graph. See why it's still kind of shaky, but it's less shaky as you go on.
Yeah.
It will never even out fully. It never will. Never, ever will. It will be relative.
Ever? For never?
Guess how many? Guess how number? You never. Oh, the dinosaurs. Yeah. Do you remember? So, how many numbers are there in between 1 and 2?
Oh jeez. Damn.
Infinite.
Finite. Infinite.
0.01 or 0.001, 0.00001. That's why you can never get there to the full extreme.
You're melting my face here. Hard.
But the law of large numbers basically states ultimately is that the larger the numbers, the more it balances out evenly.
Teacher, I have a question.
Yeah.
On the graph here, right?
Yeah.
It goes up to, on the positive side going up. Do you see here on the graph?
Yeah.
Here on the graph, right?
Yeah.
It goes 0. That's 0, right?
Yeah.
And then it goes up, minus 10, plus 10.
Yeah.
You see the graph here?
Yeah,
you see the shape?
Yeah.
And then it goes up to 20.
Yeah.
And you see here on the bottom, it doesn't have 20. And
what do you mean?
it doesn't. Here on the up, it has 20.
Yeah.
But on the bottom, it doesn't have 20%. And the bottom also never reaches minus 30%, but on the top, it reaches nearly up to plus 30%, 40%. What is going on with there? Is this just
that's the early stage? That's the early stages because you haven't done it for long enough to be consistent.
Right.
While it probably.
So is this just one possibility of the graph then? It's not,
I mean the law of large number doesn't care. I mean it could go 100 that way, and it could go 3,000 the other way, but ultimately that won't happen forever.
Right.
That's what it's counting on. So yeah, it might have gone up to 50 and it gone to minus 30. Now, the opposite could have happened. It could have gone down to minus 30.
What? Oh, the mirror image, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
The opposite situation could have happened. Let's pretend
what I heard, just to play the devil's advocate, it's like throwing a yo-yo or something. And it's like if someone pushes you, there's a motion one way, and then the motion goes back, but eventually it evens back out to standing up straight. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
If someone pushes you, you nearly fall over, but then you get back up and you might feel wobbly, but then you straighten out. It's
like if you have like let's say a little spring catapult, you go boing, and it goes like that, and then it kind of. Pendulum. A pendulum's a good example. Right. You swing the pendulum, it will go like erratic like that, but it will eventually go still, but it will never get still completely because we're all static, we're all on vibrations, we're all moving. Everything's moving, so the pendulum to us it will look still, but it will get infinitely still, but it will never get fully still. And that's like a pendulum. Think of this as a pendulum, up, down, up, but maybe a little bit more erratic. A pendulum's a little bit more even, but it works on the same principle, just a little bit more erratic, but it's relative rather than perfect.
Yeah.
But it will eventually even itself out more and more. The more numbers we get into it.
It almost looks like a straight line towards the end. It does. Doesn't it?
And if you were to go on another 5,000, it will become even more straight. To us, it will look completely straight. It will never be straight fully, but it will get infinitely straighter. A bit like the number between 1 and 2, you'll never get to 2 completely.
What kind of stock do you think they're betting on there?
I don't think this is with anything, but
it's just a general kind of.
It's just a general, relatively with the law of large numbers that this applies to anything really. Is that this is what will happen in the long run with any kind of situation, and it goes with anything in life really.
Flipping a coin.
Betting on a number, betting on a colour, for example, red, black, and. Let's assume this is a 50-50 example. This is how it will end up. It will go 50-50 or towards what it's supposed to be. If something had a 90% chance of winning and 10% chance of losing, you're not going to see 90 in a row and 10% in a row very often. It might happen once or twice, but very unlikely.
Yeah.
More likely it's going to be like 20 and then 80 or something like that. And it'll fluctuate. It'll be a bit erratic. It won't be exact most of the time because nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
But it's relative. We will evolve. We'll get there. We'll always be getting there. We'll never get there fully, but we'll continue to go there. The journey goes on forever. it's infinite.
Yeah.
So that will get straighter infinitely. So if I was tossing coins for the next 20 trillion years, the results would be closest to 50-50 as possible. And to us it would look like exactly 50-50.
Yeah.
But if you did it out to 10 spins, chances are it won't look anywhere near as 50-50. It might on the occasional, but but if you keep on doing it, it won't. But if you do it a billion times, every single time without fail, it will be 50-50 or very, very close to it, guaranteed.
Yeah. So we only have 5 minutes left. I was just gonna make a side metaphor, but now I'm going to realise it doesn't really make sense. I was going to make a metaphor to, I normally make a metaphor to the stock market and how they price an apple, but I don't really think this really aligns.
It might do, you never know. It's all part of it. They all base it on the law of large numbers ultimately.
Right. So this definitely has relevance to the stock market.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And what about if people, could you relate this to, so you've already related this to people's general knowledge, for example with a coin.
Yeah.
Could you just link it to other things that people know, maybe if they, for example, love Manchester United or something like that, would that relate to how many goals their team would score, or
well, I think
would that be too...
Well, the thing is, you also think this chart you're seeing is, we're not taking exact variables into account, we're taking like a random outcome, we're just talking about random here.
Right.
But then if you want to bring other elements into it, then that's where it goes from being 50-50 to maybe 70-30. That's where variables come into it.
Right.
So with Manchester United, if they were a fantastic team scoring all the time, they would win most of their matches. And then you had another team who were doing absolutely rubbish. It's not going to be a case where they're in over 1 million matches. Hypothetically, Manchester United will be winning 50%, and the other team, it could be a case of Manchester United in the long run winning 70% of their matches, and the other team winning, let's say Liverpool, pretend. I'm not saying I'm not saying this is the case, but they'll win 30%, Manchester will win 70%. What I do know is that, so you have to take variables into account as well, but it will give a certain law of large numbers, but it may not always be 50-50. The variables, if you just did everything purely random, it will always be 50-50.
For example, with this, could you... I know I'm really pulling you off track.
No,
but I'm just trying to relate to stuff everybody knows.
Yeah.
If this was related in Ireland, right? Ireland's a very rainy country.
Yeah.
And you're trying to guess, I don't know, what days versus... I think that's a different thing altogether. Yeah. Could you involve, like, predicting the weather into this, or...
Yeah, I mean, I could say within 365 days, I know for at least 10 of those days it's going to rain.
Okay.
Because we are a rainy country. If it's the Atacama Desert in Chile, which doesn't rains once in 400 years, I know in the period of 365 days it won't rain. I could place my bets, but in Ireland that wouldn't happen. Now I could probably place a bet saying that it won't rain it will rain within the next week, and I could be wrong. But if I place it to last for 365 days, I will guarantee that I will be right.
So you're basing this on back testing? Based on
absolutely.
History of the weather for that
absolutely. Back testing is everything as well. Yeah,
important.
And long term, not short term, but long term back testing is so important. If it's worked in like a few decades ago and it's still working today, the chances are it's going to continue working because a lot of numbers have been used up at the stage. Maybe
going into a casino at the end of a night's drinking and betting on the weather that's going to rain in Africa, maybe you should do your research, maybe.
Yeah, I mean...
before betting on weather and
the casino...
it's going to rain in Africa.
The thing is, the casino it's just purely random, so there's no skill involved or previous knowledge. Right. Previous knowledge will affect this chart greatly. And it will affect absolutely, yeah. Like I said, not everything's 50-50, but it comes to its relative mean. It could be 50-50, 60-40, 30-70, depending on the situation. If it's purely random, it'll be 50-50. If it's not, it'll be something else.
That is golden. So listen, we only have 40 seconds left, so we're going to try and sum it all up, and then we're out of here. We're to go, we've stuff to do. So 40 seconds.
Here we go. 50-50, a random outcome will always be 50 everything is fair, it will balance out 50-50 in the long run.
Short term? Oh no, sorry.
Not
You're
the
right.
short term. Short term is law of averages, because you could say after every two, the third situation happens. That's law of averages. That can let you down occasionally. The law of large numbers will never let you down. It will always balance out, no matter what. I guarantee that. So 50-50 for after, let's say, 10,000, it will always be close to 50. It will never be 30-70 after 50,000, I promise you, in most situations, but it will be closer to that 50-50. It might be like that earlier on, but later on it will never be like that. I absolutely guarantee that percentage will be infinitely close to 50-50.
Yeah.
For a non-random event, remember what they said, like the same repeated experiments. If you repeat the exact same thing over and over again with the same knowledge, backtesting over and over and over again, you will get the same results. It will balance out to the same mean. It doesn't matter whether it's 50-50, 70 or 30. It's just the trials have to be repeated under the same conditions. So, for example, betting on the weather that Ireland's going to be rainy, this is a condition. No point suddenly randomly throwing in the Atacama Desert, because that's a completely different condition. You've got to stick to the same conditions, and same conditions only. Do not change it whatsoever. If you do that, you will balance it out ultimately, and you will be ahead. That's what the law of large numbers is about. It's about repetition. When you do something enough, you get to know it. Same thing, no different.
Yeah.
That, my baby, is what it
Yes,
is.
that is it. Alright, we have the law of large numbers here. This is Dr. Boogie live.
And one day I'll go into more detail about how I use that with my stuff, because it's my baby.
It's my baby. Alright, we're finishing up, and I hope you. Yeah, that's it. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Good luck.